Mike Jackson here from Best of the Tetons in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Hey, today I'm going to show you how to use some of the special tools that are in Adobe Lightroom CC, and they have to do with trying to straighten images. It's not necessarily trying to get things level as much as when they're shot a little bit off angle and they're not exactly square. They have a lot of lines that are vertical or horizontal, and you can definitely tell that they're off when you see the photos. So these tools are pretty easy to use. You need to have Adobe Lightroom CC to make this work, and if you have some of the old box versions of Lightroom, you'll probably want to upgrade it. I brought in 6 images for this little project as examples, and I'll run through them really fast here. This is taken down in Evanston, Wyoming. You can see things aren't quite square pretty much anywhere. Again, not square, not parallel, not vertical. This was shot with a 14 to 24 lens, aiming up a little bit, so I got this converging lines effect that you get with those kind of lenses. A lot of times for websites, you want to get things square, you know, they just look better. And this would be fairly simple to do. You'll know how to do it when the tutorial's over. You can see this one has a little bit of taper to it. And you might like it just like it is, but it's also possible to square the thing up. Another good time to use this is if you're doing reflections. You can be a little bit off to the side, shoot the shot, and then square things back up without being in the picture itself. Good example though. I have this image opened up. It's a boxcar from a railroad station down in Evanston, Wyoming. You can see that it's, you know, fairly good, but there's some problems. There's some angles here that's not parallel. That's pretty good, but a little bit off. This is definitely off. That's not too bad. I can straighten this up with just a few commands here. I'm going to go directly down to, you know, normally in basic, and I would go down to transform. That's where these tools are. And I could do the auto, and I can do any of these levels and verticals, but I know what I want to do here is guided. And this gives me a set of tools. I'm going to go parallel, drag out. I'm going to click one time, drag out, click again, or release. Click, release. That fixed most of it, right? And so now I've got, you can do 2 lines, but you can do as many as 4. I'm going to do all 4 of this since I can. Okay, that's fixed most of it. I have the hit the R command that will let me, if I like to, I can use some of these constrained proportion, but I'm just going to use the normal one here, unconstrained. Maybe I'll bring in a little bit on the side. Or let me change my mind. I'll do 2/3, 2 to 3, and still adjust it. I can do some adjustments in the basic tab. Again, you know, grab no trusty dehaze. I can bring up the texture since it's a grungy image. I can bring up some texture and clarity. If it's too dark or too bright, you know, I can adjust those. Highlights down. Shadows in this case down are probably pretty good. And I can put vignettes and do all the other stuff that you normally do. So let's call this one good. And we'll go jump to the next one. This image I've already done a little bit of work on. You can see, you know, exposure changes and clarity and texture and all that. I've already adjusted that. So really the problem at this point now is I have these tapers here on the building, and I want to fix that real quick. And so I'm going to do the very same thing. I'll jump down to transform. Again, I can do the auto, and I can do level and vertical and all that, but I know what I want to do here is guided, and all I'll do is drag up from this corner and this corner, and that'll do most of the work right there. All I'd really need to do is crop at this point, but if you see this house and you know this house, yeah, you can see that this thing got squished a little bit, and so I can fix that right here in this same panel. Go to aspect and drag it out, and that makes it look a lot more like their actual building does. I hit R for crop, and I can drag this in. I'm just going to eyeball these. Of course, you can do a lot of stuff in Photoshop and even some things here in Lightroom if you wanted to fix these little dots and so forth. I would usually do those in Photoshop, but it's easy to do these here too. I would just use the spot removal tool and go in there and work on it. You know, color's pretty close to being good. I'll double click on it, and now I can either export the file, save it, or do whatever you do with any of your files in Lightroom. I think you can see this works fairly well, works fairly fast. There's a lot of applications for it within almost everybody's photography, and makes things a lot cleaner looking. But wait, there's more. If you really love Photoshop and you like to work there mostly, but you like what you just saw, there's a solution for you. All you have to do is you have an open image, and you go to Filter, Adobe Camera Raw Filter. It'll bring up the Adobe Camera Raw options, and you can go to Geometry, and the last one in this little group is Guided, and basically do the same thing as we did over in the other one. Drag out your guidelines, and there you go. And all you have to do now is say OK, and there's your image back in Photoshop ready to go. You know, don't disregard the option if you like what you see over there. It actually, I think, maybe works better than perspective crop and quicker in Photoshop. Well, that was easy enough, wasn't it? I think you're going to find a lot of tools and a lot of features in Adobe Lightroom CC that makes you want to switch. This is just one of them. You might notice also that there were several options within the transform dialog box. I just used a couple of them. One of them, of course, we expanded the building out a little bit because it was squished. You can do the same thing if you use a wide angle lens. You can change the aspect ratio to make the mountains look a little taller. They sometimes feel like they get squished too. So I hope you got some information out of this. You know, check back often. Also, check out bestofthetetons.com. That's my blog, local area Grand Teton National Park blog, and Teton Images. That's where I have some photos for sale. And of course, I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Best of the Tetons.